and we're still going to have it when we are 70. But it's our wake up call to really take care of ourselves. We need to start being more aware of self-care, finding ways to reduce our stress level, even if that means by balancing. So stress isn't going to go away. If you have a meaningful life, you're going to have some stress, right? I mean, it's a part of the deal. You buy the joy, you buy the stress, but by balancing and offsetting with joyful things that maybe you haven't been putting in your life, or taking a deep breath here and there throughout the day and putting your shoulders away from your ears just a little bit, right? Those things can go a long way for kind of balancing the scale. Yes, I have stress, but I've got enough joy and I got this. That's kind of where you want to get to, the resilience. And, how does that relate to belly fat? Well, quite a bit, actually. So stress tends to make us crave things other than salmon and kale. And, and then when we take the advantage of those things, today is a perfect day. As we record it, November 1st, how many of you have leftover treats from Halloween? Get them out, ladies, get them out, and don't take them to work, because you don't want your coworkers to be having this either, right? They're not going to be in a better mood if they eat your treats, right? So just dump them. Please don't take them to the women's shelter, because that's not what they need either. There's just no good place for it, really. So if you did it, you indulged, fine, but now throw them out. And that's kind of what we need to do, is walk away from sweets and sugars and, keep ourselves armed with a little more protein, a little more fat, and lots of antioxidant rich foods. Because
are you saying that before we party, because we have the party holiday season
before we party? Yes. Jane, you party animal. Okay.
Sugar. Yes, I do some alcohol. But so do you know how we might prepare ourselves nutritionally before we party
right.
with alcohol and sugar?
Great. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do, is you don't go hungry, right? We know those rules, but better than don't go hungry. I would say don't just belly up to celery and carrots. Actually, have some high protein foods before you go, because that will stick with you a little longer. Then you may choose to have the wine, but it'll be a conscious decision that I want to do this. This is worth it to me. And you'll be able to stop and think, how's this going to make me feel tomorrow? And, when you go hungry, you don't have that opportunity to stop and think. And so you react as opposed to respond. And so, I arm myself with a smoothie. I'll have a high protein shake before I go. So it's almost as if I've got a little fiber, I've got some protein and a little fat, and I'm not hungry. So I know I'm covered and I've had a meal, because, if you go to the party, the good stuff goes first. The little shrimp are gone, right? And, so you're left with maybe not so good choices. Veggies are great, but they're not going to actually keep you full, and, offset the effects of the alcohol quite so much. So get the protein in, and hors d'oeuvres are okay, but they're not going to be the life of the party. Go and focus on the people that you want to see and talk to. And I think we all get caught up in the food, but what if it wasn't about the food and it was about the people?
And it won't be about the food as much, at least in theory, if you've got some good protein in your belly and maybe some vegetables along with it and maybe some olive oil along with it.
Great. Yep.
And then you're really more ready. Your body is prepared to party.
Right.
In a more smart way.
Yes. So true. And a little bit of exercise, even before a party can also go a long way. So there's a study that shows even 6 minutes of power walking before lunch makes subjects who did it more likely to choose low-calorie foods. And I'm not necessarily promoting low-calorie foods, so I'm really relaying the study information. But they chose higher nutrient-dense foods. And so compared to, people who came to the buffet extra hungry, no exercise, And what they were looking at is like a minute each of 6 times powering up a hill, for instance. You don't have to change your clothes and quote unquote work out, but just getting a little vigorous exercise also gives you a little stay power. You're not as hungry, and you can control your appetite and think about, okay, I just did something good for myself. I'm going to stay on that domino effect and continue doing something good for myself. And, you're going in with a high. And, a lot of us are introverts more than we admit. We assume everybody's outgoing, but even sometimes those people who are high profile are introverted, and we refer to or defer to the food maybe just as something to do, and if you go in with having exercised, you'll be a little bit more on, and a little bit more at ease, and you may not feel like you need to hide behind glass or, a plate.
So what does that do actually when we exercise before these social functions, just for minutes? What does it do?
Yeah.
Why do we feel more like not reaching for that whatever this is to get there?
Well, in part, it kind of takes care of appetite. So that's number one. But the other side is it gives you a little bit of endorphin and, for us, serotonin. We feel good. We feel better about ourselves. And, so we've got a little bit more confidence going in.
Wow. Cool. So is there anything new in research that we might not know that you want to share with us to empower us? Because that's part of our purpose of these interviews is to empower you all who are watching to be able to make the better choices and shift your whatever you want to shift in your body, more muscle tone, less belly fat, or whatever it is, more vitality maybe. So is there anything, because we know, here's one rather new piece of research, and maybe some people know this, but it's not really the amount of calories that you that is going to determine how much fat you have on your body or not. Any new research, Deborah, that you know about you can share with us?
Definitely. So you're right in that line of thinking. It's hormones. They control the game, and they always did. But here's the thing, that at midlife, that starts showing up much more in an amplified way. So while we could exercise more and eat less when we were younger, so make sure that you string those 3 things together. That wasn't the answer, but it worked when we were younger because we simply did have a higher percent of body muscle, body lean to body fat, and we lose it starting at age 30. So during hormone change and during times of stress, all of the mistakes we've made are amplified. So hormones always did call the shots, but we got away with thinking it was calories. And now, essentially, what we're doing is paying for that a bit. So think about this. If you've been on a roller coaster, you have maybe been someone who said, the only way I can ever lose weight is to count calories. So to me, that sentence is a bit of a red flag. I mean, why are you continually having to go back to counting calories? If it works, why isn't it just staying off? Right? So many of us could do that at one point. We could eat less and we could exercise more and we would lose weight. So I'm not saying that doesn't work, but the problem is it only works temporarily. And until it doesn't anymore, and when our hormones are more volatile, that's when it doesn't anymore. So the real key is exercising less, but with more purpose, making it matter more. It's not about volume or quantity. It's about the quality, right? And so that's where you want to focus, and you actually want to eat more and more of the good foods. So the things that will promote good hormone balance, healthy fats, more protein, more fiber, and those things that stabilize blood sugar and insulin, therefore.
So when you say to eat or to exercise with more purpose, could you
Yes.
expound on that statement, please?
Exactly. So a lot of times we'll talk about, say, weight training with clients. And what I'm always asked is, well, how long should I do my weight training routine for? And it's so not about how long. It's about the quality. So did you reach fatigue, for instance? So many of us will, maybe we like group exercise, and I'm not picking on group exercise. I was in that room in the front of it for a long time. So probably my first love, but I know I wasn't doing this for a long time while I was doing it either. We were doing a lot of exercise, and we could say, okay, exercise for 60 minutes. But notoriously, the question I was asked most often at the end of a class is, how many calories did we just burn? And it doesn't matter, but you need to reach fatigue. And that's whether you are better off with a heavy weight or you feel more comfortable when you go with a lighter weight, either because in your head you feel like you've bulked up when you use a heavy weight, or you feel vulnerable to injury and you want to stay with a lighter weight. That's okay. But the point is, you have to reach fatigue. So with a lightweight, that's going to mean more repetitions. With a heavyweight, it's going to mean fewer by default. But you can also play with a lot of tricks by slowing down the time that you do an exercise. So you have more time under tension, and that can change the rules. And a lightweight can suddenly feel heavy because you go slower in doing it rather than using momentum to do it. But what we know is that fatigue is what changes the way the muscle responds and repairs itself, and the hormone activity that actually increases your lean tissue and helps you burn more fat. So lightweight, heavyweight, but fatigue is crucial. And really that lovely idea that you, even with lightweight, can see results and reach fatigue and make some inroads with burning more fat came out within the last 6 to 9 months. So that's really kind of, I think, a relief for a lot of women. I used to really say heavyweight, as your best friend, and be someone who promoted that. But that can be risky for some of us. It's not the best thing for everybody. So now you can find your sweet spot.
Okay, that's great. Now, as a weight loss expert that I am, I know a lot about nutrition, and so would you say that what about the timing of nutrition and certain nutrition, in conjunction with weight loss, or fitness, working out?
Yeah, great question. So one of the biggest pieces that we now know is after your workout, and I'm talking about after your moderate to vigorous workout. So if you're doing a light workout, really you don't want to overcompensate with food anyway, all right? So you don't want to be thinking, well, I did this so I can eat this. You don't play that game. But when you're ready and ripe for a meal, what we know is we want to wait 60 minutes after a challenging workout, because older adults particularly have what's called a blunting effect on our ability to use protein for the use of our muscles for about 60 minutes. So 5 years ago, I would have said within 30 minutes, make sure you eat something. That was kind of the old gold standard. And no longer is that true. If you can wait 60 minutes, between 60 and 120, so an hour or 2 hours, that 90 minutes is really the sweet spot. Your body is ripe for a good, high quality, high protein meal or a smoothie, depending on where you are and what you need to do. That's ideal.
Wow. And then is there a particular type of food that you would recommend after and before a workout?
Definitely after. It's between 20 and 30 grams of protein is about what we can assimilate really well. Older adults, and I'm talking, when we talk about 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds, there is some proof that if you're wasting muscle, you find you're doing the work, but you're not seeing muscle definition, it's challenging for you to hold on to it, then almost double even. Some older adults do better with almost double compared to younger adults. So that might be up to 40 grams of protein. So, what is that? In terms of a protein shake, a lot of them vary. You've got to read your label, but a protein shake average might have 21 to 25 grams of protein in it. So you want to be there, and maybe bumping that up with a little nut butter or a little hemp hearts, for instance, if you go plant-based. So you're bumping your protein level up to an adequate level so that you do all that muscle repair, muscle rebuild, and you get that in. And otherwise, that's 4 to 6 ounces of chicken breast or salmon or beef. So it's really a normal size kind of, right? Your hand, and then to your first knuckle. And for most people, that's about it.
That is a really good measure. It's very visual for us.
Yeah.
So obviously, as we age, I think we all know that we have less HGH, human growth hormone production.
Yep.
What would you say would help promoting HGH?
2 things. Number 1 is sleep. You've got to get sleep. And I know that someone may be listening and say, oh, that sounds nice. And I'd like to do that too, but I don't know how. I can't. I've tried everything. So if you think you've tried everything, I highly encourage you to relook at the list of things. And I think quite often we think we've tried everything, and yet maybe we've grabbed at straws more randomly. So it's look at the list of things that probably many of us are very familiar with, things that work, and yet we haven't done them in a way that we very structured have sequentially and strategically looked at this, done this, and then tested it, tweaked it, and said, okay, well, that didn't work, but now I'm going to try this, and now I'm going to try this, and I'm going to tweak it a little and continue to try this. And there are most likely some things that do work that you haven't looked at, and or that you did but didn't stick with it long enough to see the change. A couple little tips for sleep that help many of my populations. First of all, having a morning routine that does not change. So if you get the first 2 hours of your day right, you will sleep better that night. And the mistake we all make is, well, I didn't get a very good night's sleep, so I thought sleep was more important, so I didn't get up. Wrong answer. You've got to say, I don't do snooze. I don't have a snooze button. And, my wake up morning call is the same 24/7, 365. There's no such thing as sleeping in. If you want to reset your biological clock and sleep well the next night, it's like a baby. You have to get back on schedule and reset that clock, because your hormones then can know a predictable schedule. Super important. So get up at the same time, have a morning routine that maybe it's for you, it's coffee, quiet time, maybe there's a little movement, but sunshine or bright light. If you have to go to a work, at dark 100, turn on all the lights in the house when you get up. You're trying to tell your body it's daytime. And if you, really need it, if you're light sensitive, a light box can come in really handy, especially if you're in a northern climate in the winter months. I mean, we're turning our clocks back on Saturday night, and, great an hour of sleep, but it'll be dark when a lot of people leave and dark when a lot of people come home. Right. And so getting more sunlight during their waking hours can actually help you produce melatonin, a hormone that we produce less of as we age. But you can naturally kind of work for your body to turn it back up and produce a little bit more. And I like to go that route first. And then some people actually do supplement and do well with that.
Right. And it is so important to get a good night's sleep.
Right.
Because, you've got to reach that really deep level of sleep. That's where your body repairs and heals itself. When you think about it, it could be argued that we're designed to sleep 1/3 of our life. That's a long time. That's
right.
That's important. I'm
for it. I'm I'm on that campaign. I like that.
And it feels so much better when you wake up and you're not foggy and groggy, at least not for too long.
Right, right,
And you just feel better. Or
right.
up
And
and
to your point, those deep cycles of sleep. So we go through 1, 2, 3, 4, and we do that about 5 times a night for 90-minute cycles. And that third and fourth stage, that deep cycle, often is when many women are getting woke up, either naturally themselves due to hormones, or a partner is snoring, or a pet is jumping on and off the bed. I'm pointing at my four-legged friend right now. And that's very disruptive, because that is when we produce that growth hormone you were talking about. And if you want to have the benefit of the weight training you're doing, we need that growth hormone to say, okay, here you go. This is like the magic dust that says, yes, here we go. Let's build a little lean protein and help you keep your lean muscle. And we need that to happen. So the right kind of exercise and the sleep to pair with it is like the best wine and the best meal.
right, exactly. Well, there's lots to know, and we've just kind of touched on it, but we're going to start wrapping this up, Deborah, and anyone
Great.
watching. Thanks for watching, by the way. And so why don't you tell us about your free gift, Deborah, and then I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat, or I don't know if you can, I might have to.
You know what? I think I can. So yeah, so kind of right on the things we're talking about, the 5-day flip. So I'm inviting everybody to do 5 days of exercise with me. I will send you 5 short videos, 15 to 20 minutes long, that are doable. And whether you do them in the middle of the afternoon for a little shot of extra motivation, or you use them as your exercise in the morning, 2 strength training, 2 cardios, and then a recovery day. So not only do you get the exercise, but you actually see how I lay out a week's worth of exercise, so that you have a little hard day, a little recovery day, a little balance in your workout, which is really important for women who've been thinking more, right? You need some more, and then you need some recovery, right? To benefit. So you get those, and then right away you get a little cheat sheet that will tell you at a glance, what are the highest priority things I should be doing if I have a little bit of time or a little bit of energy? What's most important? And you get that right away.
Okay, and that just one question. What if I
Yeah.
just have 3 minutes? And maybe I have an impulse. Okay, I could move my body. I suppose I could move it any old way I want to. But is there something that you might suggest in terms of what kind of movement to do for 3 minutes?
For 3 minutes, I would say kind of depends on where your stress level is and where your energy level is at the moment. Do you need to rev up, or do you need to calm down a little bit? So almost always, though, I love something that incorporates core and challenges your gravity. So too many of us are sitting, or we're in front of a computer screen. So to go into a plank, for instance, on your forearms and your toes, or your knees if you need to, and maintain that, breathing through it, dropping your shoulders away from your ears, you become conscious of pretty much every muscle in your body. And you've engaged your core again, whereas if you're sitting just like here, and you're sitting back in your chair, or you're sitting forward, your posture is off probably a little bit, and you'll bring it back into alignment. So that could mean, if you've got 3 minutes, that could mean 6 repeats of 30 seconds, right? Or it could mean 1 minute repeats 3 times, depending on who you are. Holding it longer is not more virtuous necessarily. Turning those muscles on is the hardest part. So it may benefit you to turn them on several times, as opposed to turn them on once and think, hold it as long as I can. Those world record holders on YouTube, we don't need to be that.
We don't need to go for 4 minutes.
We do not. Or 8. Yeah, I don't know. That was the record, I think.
Yeah, 8 minutes is the record.
I think so. That was last year. Somebody was posting that, and it's there's no additional benefit. After you can hold for about a minute, you've got it all. So doing a repeat, rest, and then come back up to it is actually probably more beneficial than holding longer.
Well, and I recently read that plank is more effective for a stronger core than crunches. Do you agree with that?
I don't do crunches or believe in crunches or sit-ups. Forward flexion is not your friend.
Not good for your back.
Not good for your lumbar, right? Your discs in the back. There's a way to do it, but unfortunately most of us don't, because we're of that more is better mentality. So we tend to go for too much range of motion, and then we get that flexion going on in the spine. And no matter who we are, we only have so many forward flexions in our spine. So we are all rushing toward an injury. It's just at different speeds. So you, Jean, you're small and you're petite. You don't have a thick spine, right? So you're less at risk than someone who is bigger boned and has a thicker spine. But it doesn't matter. We're all going that direction, either faster or slower. So there are so many better options. And that's not motivating necessarily if you're attached to it in your head. So here's the motivating thing. If you want to flatten your belly, there are so many better exercises than crunches and sit-ups. If you can't hold in while you're doing something, it's not helping you flatten, right? It's helping you build it out.
Yeah.
So, think about, what am I trying to do here? And how is that helping me? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great pointers. Great pointers. Well, let's see. Oh yeah, you did put that up there. Now,
I did.
the thing is, that's not going to show up in the chat when I send this replay out. So
Okay.
to everyone, I'm gonna copy that and put it in the hi, here's your replay kind of letter that I will send out probably this afternoon.
Great.
So that. And then I'll also, Deborah, would you like me to put your website address in there as well so people can see more about you?
Would love that. And it's right on the beginning of the 5-day flip. But yes, if you'd love to, flipping50.com would be great. Yeah.
50.com. Okay. Okay. I'll do that. And well, I guess that's about it for now, except I just want to say that my next guest is next week on the 8th. I believe that's a Thursday. And it's McCall McPherson. She's an
Great
expert. Do you know McCall?
We just spent the weekend together.
Oh, excellent. All right. So I'm real interested to hear what she has to say about thyroid and weight loss and weight gain and all that stuff, because has a lot to do with it. And not everyone, even if you've had some diagnostics and testing done, they're not always reliable tests. So you're going to want to hear what McCall has to say about that. All right. Well, thank you, Deborah Atkinson, so much. And we'll be in touch. And I hope to see everyone around next week on the 8th. Bye.
Thanks so much, Jean.
Bye.